The first letter. It was a quiet evening in late September when Eleanor found the letter. The rain had just begun to fall, soft and uncertain, against the tall windows of her small apartment. The world outside smelled of wet leaves and fading summer, but inside her room there was only stillness, the kind of silence that made a person notice the ticking of the clock, the hum of the refrigerator, even the way their own breathing filled the air. She had been clearing the bookshelf, sorting through old novels and journals she had not opened in years, when her hand touched the envelope. It was hidden between two thick books, its edges yellowed with time, the paper faintly fragile. On the front, written in a handwriting she did not recognize, was her name, Eleanor. For a long moment she only stared at it. Letters, in this age, had become rare, replaced by emails and text messages, things that vanished as quickly as they arrived. But this was different. The ink had faded, the handwriting curved in a way that felt strangely personal, almost intimate. She hesitated, unsure whether to open it. Perhaps it had been misplaced. Perhaps it was meant for another Eleanor who had lived here before her. Yet deep inside, she felt something, a quiet pull, a strange certainty that this envelope belonged to her, and that whatever words waited inside had been waiting for her alone. Her fingers trembled as she tore it open. The letter was written on soft cream paper, and though the edges were worn, the words inside were clear. My dearest Eleanor, I do not know when these words will reach you, or if they will at all, but I write them because I cannot keep silent any longer. Life has placed too much distance between us, and silence has been heavier than any truth. If you're reading this, then know I have loved you from the very first moment I saw you, and I will go on loving you until my last breath. If fate is kind, we will meet again. If it is not, then let this letter be proof that you were cherished, even in absence, even in shadows. Forever yours, A. Eleanor read the letter once, then again, her heart beating faster with each line. It was as if a window had opened in her life, one she never knew was there, and behind it was a story she had not yet lived. She did not know anyone whose name began with A. She tried to remember being, had she once? Perhaps an old friend, a forgotten acquaintance? But no matter how she searched her memory, the answer never appeared. And yet, there was something about the words, the sincerity of them, the way the handwriting tilted, as though rushed, almost desperate, as though the writer had poured every bit of their soul into those lines. That night, Eleanor placed the letter on her nightstand. She could not explain why, but she could not bear to put it away. The rain continued to fall outside, and she lay in bed with the sound of it filling her ears, her eyes tracing the ceiling, her heart carrying a weight it had not known before. It felt as though a story was waiting for her, a story she had somehow stepped into without warning, and she could not turn away. The days that followed were quiet yet different. She carried the letter with her, folded carefully inside her bag. At work, she would touch it when no one was looking, as if reminding herself that it was real. At night, she would read it once more before falling asleep, the words echoing in her chest like a secret melody. Her friends noticed her distraction. "You seem far away lately," one of them said gently during a coffee break. "I'm fine," Eleanor replied with a soft smile. She wanted to explain, but how could she? How could she speak of a love letter from someone she did not know? Still, the thought of A lingered in every quiet moment. Who was he? Why had he written to her? And perhaps most haunting of all, why did his words feel so familiar, as if some forgotten part of her already belonged to him? Weeks passed and autumn deepened. The trees outside her apartment turned gold, then red, then brown. The air grew colder and the evenings darker. Life moved on in its ordinary way, but Eleanor's heart was no longer ordinary. She felt as though she was living in two worlds, one where she walked through routine days, and another where a stranger's words tied her to a mystery she could not abandon. Then one evening, another letter arrived. It was waiting in her mailbox when she came home, tucked neatly among bills and advertisements. She froze when she saw it, her breath caught in her throat. The same handwriting, the same fragile paper, the same single word on the front, Eleanor. With shaking hands, she carried it upstairs. Her heart was loud in her chest, loud enough that she could hear it when she sat down by the window and opened the envelope. Inside, more words, more of that voice she did not know, but already trusted. My Eleanor, I do not know if you kept the first letter. I do not even know if you have read it. But if you have, then you will understand why I write again. The world is vast, and time has separated us more than I can bear. Still, I believe in something beyond chance, beyond distance. If love is true, then perhaps it can find a way back, even if everything else fails. Do you remember the sound of the sea? That night when the stars were brighter than the lamps along the shore? Do you remember how we stood without speaking because no words were needed? If you remember, then I am not lost to you. Forever yours, A. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears she could not explain. She had never stood by the sea with anyone, never lived such a memory, and yet, reading the words, she almost believed she had. It was as though someone else's past was becoming her own. That night she sat awake for hours, holding both letters in her hands, wondering if she was being pulled into a story that had begun long before she ever touched its pages. She whispered into the dark, almost afraid of her own voice. "Who are you?" But there was no answer, only silence and the promise of more to come.